TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is a special Thirsty Thursday edition of Three Men in a Box. Tonight with Matt Grissom, as we break down, or I should say Matt breaks down, the NCAA Baseball Diamond, week number 8, as is Arkansas Razorbacks, the number one team in the country. The one team I have a solid future on that I'm feeling pretty comfortable with. Long way to go to Omaha, but we'll talk to Matt about that. Thank you all for joining us. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsor and partnership, WagerWire. If you have not downloaded this app, please go to Google Play, wherever you download the apps. It's free. Start to get to know the app. Why? Because it's going to help you make money. It's going to help you become a better. No pun intended. Scroll down to the bottom, see all the apps that are live in your state, all the sportsbooks and casinos. Download them, take advantage of the match play, the promos, et cetera. If you're looking for a little flash cash and you want to join the WagerWire team, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Zach, Travis, Matt, Caro, Amber, that whole community, the best in the business. They'll take good care of you. So without further ado, the star of this show, the one and only Mr. Matt Grissom.
Good afternoon, evening, sir. Jeff. What's up?
I said afternoon, and it is evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't thank you enough. Tomorrow, life gets in the way, but we're here today to talk college baseball while your Razorbacks are playing as we speak, correct?
Yeah, trying to extend that 18 home game win streak into 19. It's a 2-2 count, top of the ninth. Hogs up 5-2 against Ole Miss, and we just struck them out. So there's your ball game. They made me wait right until we were on air before they just close it out. Stone Hewlett picks up the final strikeout there for the Hogs. So now we're at 19 straight games at Baum-Walker Stadium. We have won as we start the series against Ole Miss.
Are you a little nervous that you're peaking too early, Matt?
I mean, you got to win games, right? It's hard to say because I could sit here and poke holes in this Arkansas team, but they're slowly figuring everything out that I had wrong with them. For instance, getting on base was something that they did very well. They did it very well last year. They couldn't score with runners in scoring position. I feel like they kind of figured that out. They've really worked on bunting and timely hits, doing everything they can. They're not a team that's built to go win 15-5. Like this isn't a Dave Van Horn team that's going to crush the ball and hit, 120 home runs this season. I feel like we're probably going to be around 70 to 80. Our OPS is probably going to be short of 1,000. Weighted runs created plus something, advanced analytics. I'm going to be happy if we're around 120, 125. Because where we are with our pitching staff is going to make the difference. And when you get to Omaha and you play on that larger field, pitching is everything. And we're the number one team in the country in pitching staff. And we saw Wake Forest last year, who's in a similar boat. They had the number one team, and they were one of the final 3 teams remaining. So, I mean, they didn't drop a series either, the Deeks. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not real worried about us peaking too soon. I don't know if you can really do that in baseball. I know we've talked a lot about having a team like TCU who goes hot in the beginning of the season, then goes cold, then gets hot again. I kind of like this even kill Arkansas to the point where Dave Van Horn said, guys, you're kind of boring. You're boring in the dugout. Like, so they bought this stuffed gorilla and a gorilla mask, and now they play gorilla ball. And a guy holds up the gorilla trophy and puts on the mask, and just trying to add some swagger to this dugout because, like I said, we were kind of boring. I mean, we were just fine beating teams 5-2, kind of like we did Ole Miss tonight. It's at the end of the day, it's what is going to get you to Omaha, and once you're there, it's like a totally different ball game. You go from college baseball to now you're more like AAA.
You talked about last year, the one name that sticks out like a sore thumb, Paul Skeens, the dominant name throughout the season out in Omaha. Your partner here, Q Millie, was in Omaha when Florida was out there. You have a horse as well. And to people that are new and watching this for the first time, talk about the horse that you guys have this year in Arkansas.
So we have a guy, Hagen Smith. He is an absolute stud lefty. He kind of was our utility pitcher last year. He started a couple games and then he kind of struggled. He started kind of piggybacking with Hunter Holland, another lefty, to just really dominate as a 1-2 punch. But now he is our Friday night guy. He's got a .25 Sierra, sub 2 ERA guy. His xFIP is like 2.25. I mean, just absolute nasty stuff. He upped his velocity on his fastball. He can sit 98, 99. He can touch 100, 101. And then, I mean, after him, you get Will McIntyre 99% of the time, which Will is like your ultimate rubber arm. He worked with Kevin Kopps, the Golden Spikes winner for Arkansas back in 2021, who just threw a nasty cutter. Nobody could hit it. And Will McIntyre said on an interview the other night with ESPN that he worked with Kevin Kopps in the offseason and worked on his cutter as well. So, I mean, just right there, having that 1-2 punch of Hagen and Will McIntyre, that's dangerous. You throw in your game 2 starter with Mason Molina. He's another guy that's got a sub 2 Sierra, sub 2 ERA. And then Brady Tigert to round it out. He's hovering around high 2s in Sierra and ERA, but we've got arms for days. And I don't think Dave Van Horn would say that he's got enough arms, because I think you could always use more.
Shout out, good evening to Mr. Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. Been here a couple times today. We can't thank you enough for watching us. Enjoy your work as always here. Now we're talking some college baseball here. SEC, Arkansas, the talk of the town. What are you seeing in the SEC before we tiptoe over to the ACC?
Well, we talked about it today on our show. LSU is hosting Vanderbilt, the number, I think, 6 team or 7 team in the country. It was a bad day to be Vanderbilt. LSU jumped out to a 9-0 lead, but Vandy's kind of struck back now that they got Luke Coleman out. It's 6-9, bottom of the 8th. I feel like LSU coming off a sweep against Arkansas last weekend, which I was at Fayetteville for that. It was just an electric atmosphere. Hands down, the best ballpark in college baseball, and I'm not saying that as a homer. This place right here in Baum-Walker seats about 12,000. We were at capacity, I think, 2 of the 3 games. Just an amazing atmosphere. But back to LSU, they got swept. Then they lose a midweek to Southern, the small school, and I just feel like this was a get-right spot for them. Jay Johnson had to rally the troops. This team's very talented still. Luke Holman is a great Friday night guy, albeit it's Thursday night now. But I felt like LSU was going to outperform Vandy. I'm not completely sold on the Commodores right now. Their offense is struggling to plate runs. Their pitching staff is good, but not on the level that, Luke Holman, Arkansas's staff, stuff like that is. So I like LSU to bounce back big and get this series win.
The ACC, the demise of Wake Forest. I keep watching Monday and Tuesday Baseball America, your top 25, where your Razorbacks stand tall there. ACC deep, the Virginias of the world, some other teams playing great ball. A, what is wrong with Wake Forest? And B, give us the temperature of the ACC.
I mean, I think Wake Forest deal is they can't replicate what they had last year. I mean, they lost too much. Yes, you get the transfer in Chase Burns. He showed that he's elite, but you don't have the depth of the bullpen, and you don't have the offense anymore. With Brock Wilken gone, you get transfer in Severe King. Nick Kurtz is back, but outside of that, I mean, Adam Cecere and Tommy Hawk. There were so many guys in that Wake Forest lineup that could hit and give you timely hits. And right now, I just feel like Wake Forest is really struggling behind really decent pitching. They're just not doing enough. And I think, last weekend getting swept by North Carolina, that was a big eye opener for a lot of people on just one, how bad Wake may be, but two, how good the ACC is. I mean, you've got a series going on right now with North Carolina, Virginia. It's tied at 11, bottom of the seventh. I mean, these are two teams along with like Duke, who are fighting to win that ACC. And that's not even counting, you've got Virginia Tech, you've got Florida State, all very good. And even their middle of the road, like Georgia Tech is not very good in the ACC right now, but you wouldn't want to play them. I mean, Drew Burris, what he's doing as a freshman, it's a dangerous team. I really do think the ACC, they're right up there with the SEC as far as top to bottom talent. You don't want to play any of these teams.
I talk about it before we get into this weekend's action and before we break down what you saw last weekend. I always ask you what's going on in the Pac 12 or anyone out on the West Coast that is piquing your interest. I think it was last week or the week before you talked about Cal, Santa Barbara. You've talked about Oregon State, but what's going on out West?
Well, I came on the show last weekend. I said I wouldn't be surprised if USC stole a game from Oregon State, who was the number 2 team at the time. They did. They stole 2 of them, and then they canceled the third one. I'm not really sure why. USC won 2-1 in that Thursday night game. Friday, they followed it up by winning 17-4. The Trojans may be back. Caden Aoki was a guy that I really liked. He was he has good stuff. But the Pac-12 has been bad, and Oregon State was the only ranked team in the Pac-12 last weekend, and I just feel like that's more of a testament to how bad the Pac-12 may be. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing them cannibalize each other, because just like how Oregon State lost to Southern Cal, I feel like a lot of other teams are about to go through that same gauntlet of the schedule and drop series that they shouldn't drop. And these are like your Pac-12 blue bloods. Like Arizona has always been good at baseball. UCLA, I think Oregon still has a good chance to be like one of those sneaky good teams in the Pac-12 that you could win a lot of money on betting. A lot of books seem to fall asleep at the wheel kind of with these late Pac-12 after dark type games. But, man, they're fun. You can get on, I think it's ESPN Plus and Pac-12 After Dark. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy watching that baseball.
Those were always my Thursday night specials in basketball. Thursday night, ESPN Pac-12. While everyone's asleep, we're here back east winning money on the Ducks, on the Trojans, on the UCLA Bruins. Always good fun watching there. Last weekend, how'd the wallet hold up, and what did you see? What surprised you? And who was probably the turd in the pool, as we like to say? Who didn't show up last weekend?
Trying to think. Ole Miss was one. I think they got swept by Kentucky. That was just one that I'm not completely sold on this Kentucky Wildcats team. I felt like they were going to play a lot better than they did, and they just didn't. They were horrible. Georgia looked really impressive in game one against Tennessee. They won 16-2, followed it up by losing the series in games 2 and 3. That was kind of, I'm not going to say expected, but the game one result of the blowout win by Georgia, I thought, all right, here we go. This Georgia team is legit. They do deserve a spot in the top 25. It didn't come to fruition. Pittsburgh had a big upset over Virginia Tech, 7-6 on Friday. And I think, your Virginia Tech, your Florida State, these were two teams that had a really good record that slowly crept back into the top 25, but they hadn't really been tested. And then they both lose last week. Louisville beat Florida State 5-2. Pitt beat Virginia Tech, like I said. So I feel like we're at a point where these aren't the games that you want to start losing. These series, you don't want to start losing. Texas A&M looked really good against Auburn. And, the one that stuck out to me the most was Ole Miss. I couldn't believe Ole Miss couldn't beat one game could not beat Kentucky one time. And I think we lost on them all 3 days.
I took from the NCAA Insiders your page on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it, some of the matchups this week. Ole Miss again played tonight at Arkansas, and you won 5-2. Vandy travels to LSU. North Carolina travels to Virginia. Miami at Duke. Bama at Kentucky. Georgia, Mississippi State. Wake Forest travels to Virginia Tech. Tennessee at Auburn. A&M at South Carolina. As what I always like to do for you, Matt, is the field is yours. Take it away. What your leans are, what you're seeing for Friday Night Lights, some series leans, whatever you see.
Man, I was hoping some lines would start popping up, but they haven't yet. I feel like Duke's probably going to be a -200 favorite against Miami in their game one with Santucci versus Gage Zeal. Miami's kind of one of those sneaky good teams in the ACC that seem to always get one game in a series. Going back to Kentucky, though, they host Alabama, and I think this is a time where the Crimson Tide could really flex their muscle. I don't think Kentucky's very good. They've got a 63 ranked strength of schedule. They're taking on a Bama team that's got a really good Friday night guy in Ben Hess and a really good Saturday guy in Greg Frone. I'm not sold on Kentucky. If you can get Alabama at plus money or even like -125, I feel like Bama is going to be a play whenever those lines come out. Same for Georgia. They're taking on Mississippi State, another team that outside of Durangelo Cinci, whenever he is pitching, they're kind of a fade for me. They lost a series last weekend, I believe, to Florida. The only game that they won was Durangelo Day. He's the ambidextrous pitcher. Pretty dangerous. Wake Forest, Virginia Tech. This is another one where I'm going to fade Virginia Tech. I don't know if they're very good. Their stats look good, but they're against a strength of schedule that's ranked 155. Wake is tested. If they throw Chase Burns, our win probability has 59%. You can see all these. We did 10 previews this week at NCAAinsiders.com. Wake Forest, they may still be in love, be loved by the sports books. You may get an inflated price. So just watch. I mean, like I said, I wish I could give you some odds. Tennessee should roll Auburn, sorry. And then I like South Carolina to take 1 of 3 against Texas A&M. Which one that is, I'm not sure. Ryan Prager's been pitching really well, but South Carolina does get them at home. Eli Jones is going to go opposite of Prager. These are guys that are both mid-2 ERAs. Tyler Pitzer is going to go for South Carolina in game 2. He's got a 1.87 Sierra, 1.99 ERA. That may be the one against Tanner Jones and A&M. If you can get the home Gamecocks plus money, take them. Don't let that number 3 by Texas A&M's name scare you off of it. They have a 95th ranked strength of schedule.
I won't even bother you with your UConn update. That's all we care about is tomorrow, actually Saturday, excuse me, against
Yeah,
Alabama in
your
the.
UConn update is y'all have got a very good basketball team. You've got a very good women's basketball team, and you should relish in that. Congratulations. Don't worry about football. They may be back sooner or later. But
I had one of my good friends from Alabama. As soon as Alabama got to the Final Four, he says, "How about we play in football and then we'll play in basketball?" And he goes, "The point differential, whoever wins by the most in the two sports combined wins." So I applauded him for that. I thought that was very crafty of that gentleman to come up with such a prop. But you're right. We got two teams in the Final Four. The women's face Caitlin Clark on tomorrow night. I think UConn's 3.5 point underdogs. And then on Saturday, the Huskies tap off around 8:40, 11.5, 12-point favorites against Alabama, an inflated line. But since last year in their tournament run, defending champs, they have won by 13 or more every game. So keep an eye on that number there. Matt, closing thoughts for the weekend. Again, this is a Thursday night special. We can't thank you enough. Any closing thoughts for the newbies here that want to bet college baseball?
yeah, just go follow me at Grissom on X. We put out a lot of college baseball content at NCAA Insiders. And then again, you can go to NCAAinsiders.com. We do betting previews. We're working on a website right now that we've almost got ready to launch. That's going to be big for us. But yeah, and buckle up, enjoy the ride. We're halfway through the season, so you're going to start seeing a lot of separation between kind of the pretenders and the real contenders that could go make it to Omaha and potentially win it all. And there's still some really good prices out there too. I see North Carolina 40-1, Virginia 30-1. These are two teams that I feel like they're going to be right there at the top of the ACC by the end of the season. These odds don't shift much. Wake Forest is still 12-1. I don't really understand. LSU's 12-1 too, and they're 2-7 in the SEC. Actually, three and 7 because they did go final. Cash that ticket. Gave out on our show today. LSU money line, and then parlay Arkansas LSU for plus 111. So we get those two home.
It's a great way to start the weekend, Matt. Congrats there to Arkansas and the parlay with Arkansas LSU. Again, you can generally find myself, Matt, Quentin Mills, and Smitty whenever he wants to show up here. We got a seat for you. We can turn 3 men in a box to 4 men in a square if we need to. On Fridays at usually around 2:30, 2:45. So thank everyone that's watching here. We get standing room only here. If you're new here, go follow Matt at Grissom on X and, of course, at NCAA Insiders. You can follow myself at EC Sports Invest. And, of course, jump on over to our YouTube page at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. And turn on the notifications so you never miss a show here as well. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Matt Grissom at Grissom on X. You can find him there. You can find him at NCAA Insiders. And, of course, as a spot guest on VSiN whenever they decide whether it's Greg or someone else to give them a holler. So thank you all so much. It's been a busy day here at the ECSI Media Group. We look forward to seeing